Hi everyone, it's Rebecca. Today we're going to cover Chapter 13 by comparing and contrasting the different dyslexias and dysgraphias. Before we review the material, let's cover some basic definitions. Dyslexia is a difficulty with reading or faulty reading, while dysgraphia is a disturbance in writing ability. Now, before I continue in describing the four types of dyslexias, we need to quickly review the two types of reading. Whole word reading is when we identify and recognize an entire word. We use this process for words we are familiar with. Then there is phonetic reading, which is where we sound out words, and we use this process for new and unfamiliar words. To begin, I will describe the dyslexia we are probably most familiar with, and that's developmental dyslexia. These are specific reading disorders that have a genetic component. Lincoln studies suggest that genes on chromosomes 1, 3, 6, and 15 may be responsible for the different parts of this disorder. In addition to reading deficits, developmental dyslexia includes deficits in phonological awareness, distinguishing the order or sequence of sounds, and difficulty writing, such as spelling, poor spatial arrangement of letters, omitting letters, and weak grammatical development. This dyslexia is also more common in irregular languages, such as English. And while this dyslexia is heterogeneous and a complex trait that will have multiple causes, phonological impairments have been found to be the most common across patients that have been studied. Next are two dyslexias that are polar opposites from one another. Like developmental dyslexia, phonological dyslexia involves a phonological impairment. Patients with this disorder can only read by the whole word method. Therefore, they have difficulty with unfamiliar words or pronounceable made-up words. On the other hand, surface dyslexia involves a deficit in whole word reading. Unlike phonological dyslexia, they can read words phonetically and have no difficulty with non-words. However, they cannot distinguish between homophones, such as the textbook said, pair and pair. Unless it's in the context of a sentence, they will not be able to understand the difference. Now, the book also provides an amazing example of these dyslexias through use of the Japanese language. So in Japanese, there are kanji, which are Chinese characters like symbols, and kana, which are written words that are phonetically spelled out. So these two I have on the screen. They both mean school. The one under surface dyslexia is kanji, while the one under phonological dyslexia is a form of kana, which is hiragana. An individual with surface dyslexia would have difficulty with the kanji because they are unable to identify the character as a whole due to their whole word reading deficit. Meanwhile, someone with a phonological dyslexia has difficulty with the hiragana because they can't phonetically sound out the word to know what it's saying. And then here I have provided another diagram to demonstrate the difference between surface and phonological dyslexia again. So you can see surface dyslexia, the whole word recognition is impaired, so we only have phonetic coding left, where phonological dyslexia, the phonetic coding is damaged, so we only have whole word recognition left. Next, we have direct dyslexia. This is a language disorder caused by brain damage in which a person can read words aloud, but they cannot comprehend their meaning. So have you ever been reading a textbook and you're reading the words, but you don't really understand what it's actually saying? Or if you've ever been in a foreign language class and you're able to read and pronounce a word or even a sentence, but you don't know the meaning of what you're saying at all. That's how I view direct dyslexia. Is you can say it, you can read it off a page, but you don't know what you're saying. Also, if you remember transcortical sensory aphasia from the chapter, this is very similar. In this, the connection between meaning and speech is gone. So a person can't comprehend what's being said to them, but they can repeat what is being said. Direct dyslexia resembles this, except the only difference is the words are written, not spoken. Finally, we have phonological dysgraphia and orthographic dysgraphia. Now remember, dysgraphias are difficulties with your writing. So with phonological dysgraphia, as it sounds, we have a difficulty with sounding out words again. So we can't sound out words and write them phonetically. So because of this, people with this sort of dysgraphia have difficulty writing unfamiliar words, or pronounceable non-words. Now, phonological dysgraphia is caused by damage to brain regions involved in phonological processing and articulation, and these include Broca's area, the ventral precentral gyrus, and the insula. Meanwhile, orthographic dysgraphia is the opposite of phonological dysgraphia, where it's a problem with the whole word processing, so we can only sound out words. And this causes a difficulty in spelling irregular words that may not sound like how they're spelled, and we're able to write pronounceable nonsense words. Now, like surface dyslexia, this is caused by a visual impairment, and this is by damage to the visual word form area on the base of the temporal lobe. And then finally for my study, I chose an Italian study that was done on how music training can increase phonological awareness and reading skills in developmental dyslexia. So in the study, it was saying it was the first randomized controlled trial of its kind. And what they did was it was all Italian children who did not have other disorders, and they put them in a music group, which was their test group, or a painting control group. And so this was a test-retest study. So after going through and completing the testing, the study found that the music group improved in reading accuracy, which included text reading and pseudo-word reading, phonological awareness, and rhythmic ability. And in past studies, musical training has shown to be beneficial for typically developed children in areas such as phonological awareness, word segmentation, working memory, and reading abilities. And the study suggests that music training had a positive effect on the impaired linguistic abilities of those with developmental dyslexia. And that was everything. Thank you guys for watching, and good luck on your test.